Today I'd like to talk to you about 4 ways in which I used AI for my latest client project video. It will be ranked from the most regular to the most problematic. So the project was the mayor's office hired me to make a short documentary about the projects they did in the past year. It goes from schooling to social housing, fire department, infrastructure, all the investments they did in the past year, or at least the major ones. And they had to make a movie that will showcase those investments. I used AI in 4 cases in this movie, all of which were disclosed. So I will rank them from the least to the most problematic for you, and let's see how that goes. The first was the intro. I wanted to have this typewriter animated sequence. At first I thought I could use just Generative AI, I don't know, Midjourney, Seedance, and animate a typewriter typing titles, opening titles. But then Seedance just kept returning gibberish, and the typewriter didn't look very authentic, very real. So I found my old mom's, from my mother, this is my mother's property, typewriter. And I said, okay, let's just do it manually, let's just do it old school. And I recorded this sequence with this real typewriter, and then tried to animate that in Seedance. Now, the problem with this old typewriter is that the ribbon is very decayed, very old indeed. It was weakened, I wasn't able to buy a new one. And even if it was, I don't think they sell it anymore. I tried to enhance those letters in Photoshop. I used Courier New typeface to paste it onto the existing footage, and it works surprisingly well because the characters and the kerning matches very precisely. But unfortunately, it looked a bit artificial. So in the end, I just exported the last frame of the recorded sequence, uploaded it to Seedance, and then ordered it to animate the letters so they peel off the page and fly into the air. I think it worked pretty well. It could have been done better if I had more credits on Seedance and if I had more time. Now, the second use is animating architectural renderings. Believe it or not, I'm actually educated as an architect. I work as an architect for 4 years. First 2 years in an architectural office, and then 2 years as an assistant professor at the university. And I was teaching exactly that, like how to make visual representations, convincing visual representations of architecture using digital tools. So this was the subject that I taught at the time. I got these architectural renderings for a project that our community will build in the next years, in the coming years. And believe it or not, these renderings and this architectural project is done by my former boss. So we come a full circle. It's from the architectural office in which I had worked, but this is completely a coincidence. So I said, okay, so just presenting the static frames, I had only 3. Presenting the static frames for a 2-minute long interview, it's a bit boring. Let's animate them. The first thing you need to do is, first, you have to have high quality renderings with realistic people, realistic vegetations, and so on. Secondly, you must have them in 16:9, so I had to crop them. And from there on, you just upload them to Seedance, write a prompt. I use just Gemini to write me a prompt, and it worked like magic. The first attempt was completely usable. The only thing you have to take care of is to exclude music, because you want to have your own music, but it will do its own practical sound effects and it will sound just as good. Maybe you can shift stereo image, so if the ducks are quacking on the right side of the image, you just pan it to the right and that's it. But it works beautifully, and I think this is one of the ways in which AI could be used very efficiently in the future. So animating architectural renderings is a way to go with AI. Of course, AI will invent some of the architecture of some of the surroundings. That's the price you have to pay at this point. Of course, another way would be to actually do real animated sequence in architectural software, have a camera move around, but then it's much more difficult to bring people and bushes and vegetations and ducks and birds on the sky to life. So you, at this point or at this time and price investment, you can either have correct architecture but dead people, or you can have people alive but you sacrifice a little bit of architectural accuracy, because Seedance will be making up balconies and windows as it goes along. But since renderings are not meant to be like blueprints, technical blueprints, they are just there to emotionally invest the client or the audience, I think this is okay. Now the third one is actually something I've been flirting with for a long time. I've been a fan of those channels that bring old photographs to life using AI, animating people, making them feel as they are alive, smiling and sometimes even talking. This year we are celebrating 150th anniversary. It's 150 years since our two most great literary talents, Ivan Cankar and Dragutin Kette, were born, one of which comes from our town, so we are celebrating that. At the time when they were alive, they were actually roommates. They actually lived and worked together, but we don't have any photograph of them together. We only have individual photographs or individual paintings. So I set up myself to create one using AI. At first I tried to colorize their individual photographs using Photoshop, Neural Engine. It didn't work very well. Then I uploaded those two portraits into Seedance and ordered it to paste those faces onto characters and animate them in the room. It didn't work well. It just returned two random guys. So I turned to Gemini, which is an LLM, but it can create images as well. And it works surprisingly well. Of course, the first attempt was a bit off, but then I just iterated. I said, okay, make Cankar a little younger, because Cankar from that portrait is older than Kette and they were the same age. Then make Kette like this, make his beard thinner, make his this or that. And by the end of this result, I think it kind of nailed it. It's still not quite there yet, but since we don't have very accurate photographs of Kette, we have to rely on our imagination, at least to some degree, and I think it's good enough. I'm actually happy with the result. The turning to black and white and from black and white, that's done later in DaVinci Resolve. I also added the mist effect in DaVinci Resolve, firstly to hide the artificial intelligence artifacts, and secondly to make the ambient a bit more three-dimensional. It took a lot of time to render, but I think it was worth it. About its authenticity, maybe this one is a bit problematic. Maybe it's quite problematic because we are doing with real people here. But at the same time, you see people dressing up as historical characters and sometimes performing in front of children and at schools or at fairs or at historically inspired events. How real is that? How respectful is that towards real people who once lived? If you dress up like, I don't know, George Washington, Van Gogh, or Cankar, or whoever, right? And perform in front of kids or perform in front of the general audience or whatever. I'm not sure. So I'm 50-50 about this one. I included it. It's a short clip, but there you have it. It's an open debate. And lastly, I created music using AI. I used Suno AI for this one. Now, to my defense, whenever I have time and budget, I always hire real musicians, real composers. There is a world of difference between generating music with AI and hiring a real composer to do the job, to do the musical scoring for the video. Here I had none. If I at least had enough time, I would go through the libraries, either stock libraries, free music archive or whatever, but that, going through hundreds and hundreds of songs, trying to find a match for your video takes so much time. It's just too much. So I used Suno AI to create my own music for this video. I'm not a professional musician. I had some musical training in my youth, but I'm not very much talented. So I did this. I just hummed a melody into the microphone. Now, musicians, please cover your ears. It goes something like this. Pum 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 pum. Pum 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 pum. Something like this. So I uploaded that to Suno and then went back to Gemini and asked, okay, can you make this tune sound like a nursery rhyme for the kids? Can you make this tune sound like a classical piano? Can you make this tune sound like an orchestral piece? Can you make this tune sound of whatever other genre it is necessary for my video? And wow, it worked like magic. The downside of this is that it has a very bad audio quality. Even if you download WAV file, it's still very, very bad. There is no real dynamics to the audio, and there is no real stereo image to the audio. In the case of the orchestral piece, where we have multiple instruments like flutes and violins firing up through the melody, I tried to download stems. In theory, that should give you an individual timeline for each individual instrument. It doesn't work that good. It only made 4. They were useless. So the only other way to make a convincing stereo image was manually. Just duplicate the track, put one to the left, another to the right, and then use curves to distribute audio from left to right. That's the only solution that I found. But I did that only for the orchestral piece when the character is speaking, so that the flutes and the trumpets go from left to right. And that's basically it. Again, I'd much rather prefer working with a real composer, but that's the only solution that I could find in this so limited time and financial situation. I will not go very deep into discussion of ethical use or how ethical my use of this was. It is a video that would be very, very long, and we can make one in the future. For now, I just wanted to disclose it. I just wanted to present it to you and maybe hear your comments on the situation. I'm very much 50-50. I'm on the fence. I'd say that my jury is still out on this one. Now, what's coming next? I have a lot of videos in the pipeline. The reason I haven't been uploading lately is just because I was so busy with this project, but now I can commit myself to making videos for YouTube again. Yay! The first thing is I was shooting this project with Blackmagic Cinema Camera 4K. With size 28 distagon, the so-called Hollywood lens, and we can inspect that claim, so we can see how good this lens is in one of the episodes. But most importantly, I discovered that my sensor on Blackmagic Cinema Camera has decayed. It has very pronounced corrosion, And it also leaks infrared light, which some of you have pointed in my Blackmagic to Nikon Z comparison. I reached out to Kolari. They sent me a DIY kit for filter replacement, and we'll do an episode on that, do before and after footage, and see how well that works. Secondly, with Blackmagic cinema camera and Sirui, this old Sirui anamorphic lenses from Corona age, what you can do is you can shift this anamorphic orientation vertically and create vertical anamorphic. I've been playing around with that too, and I can't wait to show you the results. Next is my favorite lens of all time, Voigtländer Nocton 40mm 1.2 lens. So far I've been using Leica M mounts adapted to Sony, but now I received also native Sony mount. So it's the same lens. Basically, optically, it's the same lens, but one is adapted, another one is native. Does it make a difference? Boy, you'll be surprised to hear the answer. So wait for that. Next, we have Laowa 17mm tilt shift lens, which I purchased with my own money for the upcoming architectural project. And I still haven't tested it yet, so I can't tell you much about it, but when I do, we'll make a video about this lens for sure. And finally, the new Sigma 24mm contemporary lens f2, which I use to film this right now. I received it for a trial period from Sigma. I'm taking it to my vacation next week. I will tell you all about it when I come back. So thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts either on the AI use or on the gear that it's being now reviewed, please write that in the comments. What would you like me to do with all of that? If you have any suggestions, I haven't filmed those episodes yet, so I'm still open to your suggestions. And we'll see you when I come back home from the vacation. Thank you so much and have a good time.